tale of secrets and shadows. In the remote valley of Halleridge, a town shrouded in mist and mystery, life moved at a deliberate pace. Cobbled streets wound through clusters of thatched cottages, their chimneys sending tendrils of smoke curling into the crisp mountain air. In the center of the town square stood the oldest structure in Halleridge, a weathered stone well encircled by stories as ancient as its moss-covered stones. The well was not a mere source of water, but a symbol of the town's history. Generations of Halleridge's residents had drawn from it, their hands brushing against the cool, worn stones. Over time, it became known as the Whispering Well, a title whispered more often than spoken aloud. Tales of strange sounds emanating from its depths had woven themselves into the town's folklore, but most dismissed these as the imaginings of idle minds. The skepticism, however, began to waver when the disappearances started. It was late autumn when Claire Bennett, the town's beloved baker, vanished. Her disappearance left a gaping hole in the rhythm of daily life. Claire's laughter once echoed through the square as she handed out warm loaves of bread. She was last seen at twilight fetching water from the well for the next morning's dough. When her husband Thomas went searching, he found only the wooden bucket resting by the well, its rope gently swaying as if recently disturbed. Maybe she slipped into the woods, some speculated. Others muttered darker theories, but none dared say them aloud. Days turned into weeks. The well, once bustling with activity, became an object of silent dread. Townsfolk began fetching water from the river, steering clear of the square after sundown. The second disappearance was even stranger. Henry Walsh, a young apprentice to the blacksmith, had been openly skeptical of the well's supposed whispers. Superstitious nonsense, he'd grumble, shaking his head at the warnings of older villagers. Yet one evening, Henry returned home pale and trembling, claiming to have heard his late mother's voice calling to him from the well. "Henry, come closer," he recounted in a trembling whisper. She sounded so real. I could almost see her face. The following morning, Henry was gone. His boots were found by the well, neatly placed side by side. But of the boy himself, there was no sign. Fear began to grip Halleridge, the kind that seeped into the bones and refused to let go. By the time the third disappearance occurred, a shepherd boy named Elias, the whispers had grown louder. Those brave, or foolish, enough to linger near the well after dark, swore they could hear voices, each one distinct, each one calling for help. What unsettled them most was that the voices seemed to belong to the missing. The townsfolk held a meeting in the church, their faces lined with worry. Some demanded the well be sealed, while others argued against it, citing its historical importance. Father Alden, the town's priest, offered to bless the well, though his words held little conviction. No one dared venture near it to carry out their plans. Sophie Marlowe was 12 years old, a girl with a curious mind and an indomitable spirit. She had grown up on the stories of the Whispering Well, tales her grandmother would weave by the fireside on cold winter nights. Unlike the others, Sophie didn't fear the well. Instead, she found herself inexplicably drawn to it. Her older brother Caleb was her reluctant partner in adventure. At 16, he felt a strong responsibility to protect Sophie, even if it meant indulging her whims. When Sophie confided in him that she had been dreaming of Claire's voice calling her name, Caleb dismissed it as a coincidence. But when the dreams persisted, growing more vivid with each passing night, Sophie became determined to investigate. One stormy evening, lantern in hand, the siblings slipped out of their cottage and made their way to the square. The town was eerily silent, the rain muffling their footsteps. The well loomed ahead, its silhouette barely visible through the sheets of water. "You're insane," Caleb muttered, pulling Sophie back as she moved closer. "What if something is down there?" "That's why we have to check," Sophie whispered back, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination. "What if Claire and the others are trapped?" Standing at the edge of the well, the siblings strained their ears. At first, there was only the sound of raindrops striking stone. But then, faint and melodic, came the whispers. A woman's voice, soft and pleading. "Sophie, help me, please." Caleb's face paled. "We're leaving. Now." But Sophie refused to budge. Gripping the lantern, she peered into the abyss. We have to know. Reluctantly, Caleb tied the lantern's rope around a nearby post and began lowering it into the well. The golden light illuminated the slimy walls, revealing intricate carvings, symbols neither of them recognized. As the lantern descended further, it revealed something else. A pale hand, its fingers curling weakly around the stones. Sophie gasped. "Claire!" The hand retreated as quickly as it had appeared. A rush of icy wind surged from the well, extinguishing the lantern's flame. The whispers turned into a cacophony of voices, each one overlapping the next. "Run!" Caleb shouted, grabbing Sophie's arm. But the ground beneath them seemed to shift, pulling them closer to the well. The wind howled, carrying with it a deep, guttural voice that spoke a single word: stay. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving the square eerily serene. The townsfolk discovered the lantern, its glass cracked and its rope frayed. 2 sets of footprints led to the well's edge, but none led away. Sophie and Caleb had vanished without a trace. The well, however, had changed. Its whispers were no longer faint, but loud and persistent, each voice unmistakably belonging to the lost. Halleridge fell into silence, its streets empty as fear took root. Travelers who came to the town, lured by tales of the well, often left unnerved, or never left at all. To this day, the well stands in Halleridge, its whispers echoing through the valley, and if you lean too close, it might call your name, inviting you to join its chorus forever. The end.